Hey everyone, welcome back to Marvelous Anime. Today we're going to explore a very special niche of anime that is the biopunk world. This genre adopts the cyberpunk feel and blends it with biology, genetic engineering, and synthetic life. It concerns the dark side of science when people begin to tamper with DNA and produce monsters and superhumans in a lab. You'll see the chaotic results of godlike beings improved or mutated in laboratories, biotech giants taking over futures, and the clashes between science, identity, and morality. These anime will leave you wondering what it takes to be a human and what occurs when technology stands on the wrong side of ethics. Get ready to dive into this dark, intriguing genre in which biology becomes the battlefield. We're ready to jump into things. Let's begin. Guyver, Bio Booster Armor, 1989. Sho Fukamachi is a high school student. He finds a strange mechanism one day in the woods while he's out with his friend Tetsuro. Sho touches it, and the device activates and merges with his body. He becomes the Guyver, a living weapon that can change everything about him. The Guyver gives Sho abilities that no normal person can have. He gets superhuman strength, he can heal wounds quickly, the armor protects him, but the true risk is the control metal. Sho faces death from the armor itself if that part gets damaged. The pain of bonding and the danger never leave him. A secret corporation named Kronos is at the heart of the story. This group makes monsters called zoonoids. They create experiments and turn humans into weapons. Kronos wants the Guyver unit for themselves, so they send zoonoid after zoonoid to attack Sho. The battles are brutal. Sho stands alone at first, but soon others appear. Agito Makishima gets a unit and becomes Guyver 3. Another Kronos agent becomes Guyver 2. Each Guyver fights with giant monsters and deals with their own struggles. The fights get bigger and Sho has to protect his friends, Tetsuro and Mizuki. As the attacks from Kronos get more overwhelming, Sho learns that the Guyver is a living thing with unpredictable power. Kronos doesn't stop at sending zoonoids, they aim to conquer the world. Guyver units are targets of larger plans. In the chaos, Sho's battle sets the stage for other bio-enhanced humans and renegades like Aptum, who attacks zoonoids for revenge and personal evolution. Guyver, Bio Booster Armor, keeps its story moving with non-stop threats, new plot twists, and sharp escalation. The plot explores what happens when science pushes too far, turning people into monsters and making survival the only choice. Bao, the Visitor, 1989. Ikuru Hashizawa wakes up in a tank on a train. He's confused and has no memory. The train is part of a secret government project run by Dores. They use bioengineering to make weapons. Inside Ikuro is Bao, a parasite that grants him superpowers. A psychic girl named Sumair also escapes from captivity along with him. She was kidnapped for experiments and they try to hide, but Dores immediately sends an assassin called N22. He stabs Ikuro, but the parasite activates his powers. Ikuro fights back and kills N22. The attack triggers the full awakening of Bao. Ikuro's strength and healing become almost unstoppable. Dores is alarmed and more assassins are sent after Ikuro and Sumair. They keep moving through abandoned buildings and Ikuro becomes more powerful but also more reckless. He senses something is changing inside him. Meanwhile, the government scientists confirm that Bao is a parasite. It makes weaker animals into monsters. If Ikuro fully transforms, he could end up destroying everything. Ikuro learns he was a normal boy up until 6 months ago when he was involved in a car crash. His parents were killed and Dores took him to their lab as a test subject. They injected Bao into his body, and now Ikuro has a weapon inside him that cannot be controlled. Dores plans to use him as a living weapon. Ikuro is caught between his attempts to stay human and the monster inside. The climax occurs at a heavy security base. Ikuro fights through guards and traps. He confronts Walken, a psychic who is too powerful. He defeats Walken, but the base begins collapsing. Ikuro releases his final attack and escapes. Sumair sees him vanish into the sea, but she thinks that he hasn't yet died and is waiting until she's a grown-up. Bubblegum Crisis, 1987. Bubblegum Crisis is set in a future city called Mega Tokyo. It's the year 2032, and the city is recovering from a massive earthquake. Technology is deeply embedded in daily life, but the peace is broken by dangerous androids called boomers. These are machines designed to serve humans. Sometimes, boomers go rogue and cause havoc. The story follows the Night Sabers. These are 4 women with powered suits. These suits give them strength and the weapons to fight boomers. The team includes Pris, Ferris, a rock singer with a wild streak. Celia is the leader. Lina is tough and practical. Nene is the tech wizard, and they work outside the law. They fight both boomers and the powerful Genom Corporation behind them. The AD police try to keep order, but they can't handle everything. The Night Sabers step in where the police can't. They take down threats the city can't face alone. Each episode focuses on a fight or a mission. The boomers are a constant threat, but the team also faces off against corrupt corporate leaders and scientists. They reveal the shadowy side of what Genom does. The stakes are increased because the technology is becoming widespread and deadlier. Bubblegum Crisis mixes action with cyberpunk themes. It shows what happens when technology runs wild. It tells a story about power, control, and survival, and the series shaped how future anime would show dystopian cities and high-tech battles. Its story is fast, full of fights, and driven by the mission of the Night Sabers to protect the city. Black Magic M66, 1987. Black Magic M66 hits the biopunk vibe hard. It's about what happens when man builds a machine that can't be stopped. A military transport helicopter crashes in a remote forest. It's carrying two battle androids called M66. Both pods break open and the androids activate. They start hunting their target. Sybil, meanwhile, is a freelance journalist who intercepts a military transmission about the crash. She heads to the site with her cameraman, called Leaky. The military has already sealed off the area, and Sybil and Leaky try to get close but are captured by soldiers. They lose their equipment and are arrested. The androids are on a mission to kill Ferris, the granddaughter of their creator, who is known as Professor Matthews. The android program was a test, and the military's special ops team, led by the Major, sets traps. They try to stop the machines before they reach the city. One android is caught and restrained, but it destroys itself, leading to scattering deadly projectiles. The other android fights off soldiers and escapes into the forest, but the Major calls for reinforcements. Sybil escapes and finds Professor Matthews' ransacked house. She discovers a voicemail from Ferris at a city restaurant. The M66 is headed there. Sybil races to find Ferris and warn her about the android, and a chase ensues throughout the city. The M66 kills soldiers trying to protect them, and Sybil and Ferris climb a skyscraper. The M66 fights a gunship on the roof, and the building begins to collapse, but Sybil sets explosives and pushes the android off the tower. This anime is pure biopunk horror. It shows what happens when technology gets out of control and humanity becomes the target. Akira, 1988. Akira takes place in 2019 following a world war that destroyed Tokyo. The city was rebuilt as Neo-Tokyo, but is filled with corruption and violence. Kaneda leads a biker gang called the Capsules. His best friend Tetsuo crashes into an escaped Esper named Takashi during a gang fight. The government recaptures Takashi, puts Tetsuo into a hospital, and arrests the Capsules. Kaneda meets Kei, who is an activist linked to the resistance. Meanwhile, a secret government lab discovers Tetsuo has powerful psychic abilities, much like Akira, the Esper who caused Tokyo's destruction decades ago. Tetsuo escapes the hospital and attempts to elope with his girlfriend, Kaori. They're attacked by the competing gang, the Clowns, but they're rescued by the gang led by Kaneda. The powers of Tetsuo become too dangerous and lead to hallucinations and pain. Tetsuo's new strength turns him violent. He breaks free from his bonds and kills anyone who blocks him. The government and the resistance try to stop him. They tell Tetsuo about Akira, who's in cryogenic storage under Neo-Tokyo's Olympic Stadium. Tetsuo hunts for Akira, betraying friends along the way. Kaneda joins forces with the resistance to fight Tetsuo. The city becomes a battlefield, and Tetsuo mutates into a huge, monstrous form and destroys much of the city. Akira awakens and creates a singularity that swallows the city whole. Kaneda follows Tetsuo into another dimension, where Kaneda sees Tetsuo's and the Esper's pasts. The singularity destroys Neo-Tokyo and creates a flooded crater, but Tetsuo transcends human limits and starts a new universe. Kaneda survives with Kei and the others. Akira is a classic biopunk anime that explores power out of control, friendship, and destruction in a dystopian future. It's a landmark movie that influenced the anime narrative and animation as a whole forever. Genocyber, 1994. Genocyber kicks off in Hong Kong with Elaine, a mute girl caught in a twisted plan. A mad scientist wants to fuse her and her crippled sister Diana's psychic powers to create the ultimate weapon, the Genocyber. The first OVA follows Elaine as she's hunted by cyborg agents and government forces. After deadly battles and destruction, Elaine merges with her sister to become Genocyber. The second OVA increases the stakes as she uses her power to destroy Hong Kong in an enormous explosion mission driven by the anger over the death of her soul friend. A futuristic supercarrier leads a strike on a country called Karain. Elaine, now known as Laura, is rescued aboard the ship by a doctor. Psychic weapons called the Vajra are developed to rival Genocyber, but they spiral out of control. The Genocyber tears through the supercarrier, extinguishing the crew, then hovers over the ravaged land of Karain, which is a new wasteland born in her destructive path. The final chapters jump a century ahead to the city of the Grand Arc, one of humanity's last strongholds. Society here is ruled by a cruel mayor hiding dark secrets. Ryu and Mel are two desperate survivors. They seek medical help while fighting the city's oppression. They get caught in a violent clash that awakens Genocyber, now a massive red horror formed from the fusion of Elaine, Diana, and Mel. The monstrosity annihilates the city and those in power in a nearly apocalyptic frenzy. Genocyber is a stark vision of biopunk terror. For fans of lab-bred nightmares, Genocyber defines the dark edge of 90s anime with unrelenting intensity. Angel Cop, 1989. Angel Cop embodies that biopunk spirit with its mix of cybernetics, psychic powers, and a dystopia where no one is truly safe. The story focuses on a new elite police unit, which is the Special Security Force. They have a license to kill and no limits. Their mission is to wipe out a violent communist group called Red May. Angel, the toughest member, plays by her own rules. She believes in getting the job done no matter the cost. She partners with Raiden. He's a cop who takes cybernetic enhancements after an injury. His power lets him go head-to-head with the psychic hunter, Lucifer. The Special Security Force digs deeper once Red May starts being wiped out by an unknown force. They find more than terrorists. Powerful psychic assassins called hunters are hunting anyone standing in their way. The boundaries between heroes and villains are unclear, but Angel and Raiden go on a killing spree against hunters and conspiracies. Allies fall and trust fractures. The story edges closer to a grim truth involving government corruption and secret manipulation. Lucifer, who's the most powerful hunter, feeds on electricity and psychic energy. She kills with telekinesis and telepathy. Angel Cop draws the line between justice and vengeance razor thin. The anime is heavy on the action and dark on the hope. Rojin Z, 1991. Rojin Z takes a sharp satirical look at technology and aging in early 21st century Japan. The Z001 is created by scientists and administrators. It's a robotic hospital bed designed to care for patients completely. It feeds, cleans, bathes, and even exercises the patient. The bed is powered by a small nuclear reactor. If the reactor overheats, the bed seals itself in concrete. The first patient is Kijuro Takazawa, an elderly man cared for by a nursing student, Haruko. The Z001 picks up Takazawa's thoughts and transfers them to Haruko's computer. Haruko objects to such technology, but tries to help. She works with elderly computer hackers to create a simulated voice of Takazawa's late wife. When Takazawa wishes to visit the beach, the bed breaks loose. It grows by absorbing cars and machines. It goes on a rampage while arguing with Haruko using the simulated voice. The Ministry chases the bed in a helicopter with Haruko on board. The bed's rage grows, and Haruko and the hackers try to stop it. They destroy the bed's core, and the simulated wife comforts Takazawa as the bed shuts down, but in the end, the bed repairs itself in a new massive form. It revisits the hospital again, ready to take Takazawa to the beach. Rojin Z questions technology and care. It shows the clash between cold efficiency and human dignity. It's a mix of humor, art, and biopunk horror about aging and machines. Serial Experiments Lane, 1998. Lane Iwakura is a quiet, socially isolated middle schooler living in Setagaya, Tokyo. Her regular life is altered when her class begins getting emails written by a girl, Chisa Yomoda, who has recently committed suicide. Chisa says that she's not dead and instead exists in the Wired, a virtual world equal to the internet. Lane, being curious and confused, gets sucked further into the Wired. She finds out that it's a huge, expanding network between minds and machines. The series explores strange ideas like the Schumann resonances, which are the Earth's electromagnetic fields potentially linking human consciousnesses. A programmer named Masami Iri transfers his mind into the Wired and calls himself a god. He pushes Lane as the key to merging the real world with the Wired. Lane's family is cold and distant. Her father is obsessed with computers, her mother is emotionally detached, and her sister is uninvolved. Lane is drawn closer to the Wired and more detached from the real world. She has to deal with the mysterious hackers known as the Knights of the Eastern Calculus. They worship Iri and desire to demolish the walls between the worlds, making it chaotic and creating disruptions in the minds of people. Lane experiences haunting visions, whispered secrets, and strange powers. Reality twists as she struggles with who she is. The show dives into ideas about identity, consciousness, and the meaning of existence. Lane resets reality in the end. She destroys herself, but maintains an omnipresent linkage between the two worlds. Serial Experiments Lane is an art masterpiece because it challenges our brains to think in a very different way about the digital age. Neon Genesis Evangelion 1995. Neon Genesis Evangelion is set in the year 2015, 15 years after a global disaster called the Second Impact. Shinji Ikari is called to Tokyo 3 by his father, Gendo. Gendo is the leader of a secret organization called Nerve, which battles against beings known as angels. Shinji is riding a giant robot called Evangelion Unit 1 to save humanity. Shinji's first battle is rough. He's overwhelmed and injured. However, the robot loses control and kills the angel he's fighting. Shinji bounces back and goes to live with Misato, a Nerve officer. He fights more angels and grows more confident. He meets Rei, the pilot of Unit 2. The three face severe battles and emotional pain. Another friend of Shinji, Toji, gets hurt when his robot is taken over. Asuka breaks down after a psychic attack, and Rei sacrifices herself for Shinji but returns as an emotionless clone. Kaworu, who is the last angel, ends up befriending Shinji. He requests that Shinji kill him in order to save humanity. Shinji does so, but he feels guilty. Beating all angels, Gendo starts a project to unite all souls. This will eliminate loneliness, but at the expense of individuality. Shinji has problems with identity and fears, but he chooses to accept himself and others, and the implication is that the story resets. Humanity gets another chance, and Neon Genesis explores the pain, growth, and connections in a broken world that got them there. AD Police Files 1990. AD Police Files is a darker prequel to Bubblegum Crisis. It follows officers who fight rogue androids called Boomers in Mega Tokyo. These machines are designed to serve, but often go berserk. Normal police can't handle them, but that's where the AD Police come in. The first episode, The Phantom Woman, starts with a Boomer killing advanced police officers. The AD Police are called in for backup. The rogue machine works in the sex industry, recycling old parts. The episode ends with a fierce battle between the lead female detective and the Boomer. In The Ripper, a serial killer targets prostitutes on the subway. The AD Police investigates, and the killer is found to be Carolyn Evers, a wealthy CEO who replaced much of her body with cybernetics. A dark history and an urge to beat corporate sexism is what drove her. The AD Police try to stop her as tensions rise about what it means to be human. Carolyn dies, and one officer decides to undergo cybernetic surgery. The last episode, The Man Who Bites His Tongue, follows Captain Billy Fanward. After nearly dying fighting a Boomer, his brain and tongue are put into a cyborg body. Using a drug called DA-27, he struggles to hold on to his humanity. His doctor's obsession and the drug push him over the edge, and Billy goes on a violent rampage before his ex-lover, Gina, stops him with an anti-tank gun. AD Police Files is more violent than its sister series, Bubblegum Crisis, but it still stands as an intense entity in classic Biopunk anime. Marvelous Verdict! From the lab-bred nightmares of Guyver, Genocyber, and Black Magic M66 to the dystopian city battles of Bubblegum Crisis and Neon Genesis Evangelion, each of these animes presents a variant interpretation of biopunk nightmares. These narratives raise hard questions concerning identity, humanity, and the price of progress. They remain powerful even decades later. Scenes of mutation, psychic war, and cybernetic rage still shock and awe. Their pure emotional essence is the most prominent feature. The characters struggle over their souls and self-identities in new and shifting, threatening worlds. We hope this video shed some light on the dark attraction of biopunk and its enduring influence on anime. Which one of these animes was your favorite? Otherwise, thanks for watching all the way through. For more deep dives on anime classics and crazy sci-fi, check out the rest of our channel, but until next time, stay safe and stay marvelous.